Hey, Restoration Dominators, what's going on? Rico Garcia here, another exciting episode underway. And today we're going to be talking about something that I enjoy very, very much. And honestly, I think that each and every single one of you should enjoy it equally as much because we're talking about marketing today. Our guest, Brittany Murphy, is going to be sharing with us some of the larger concepts that we as business owners should be considering, that we should be looking at from an SEO perspective, meaning search engine optimization, getting organic eyeballs onto your organic website, right? In other words, trying to stay away from the pay to play and just the overall digital presence that you have. Brittany has a tremendous amount of experience. And the reason why I like bringing on so many marketers, which really I don't think you can have enough marketers sharing their little tidbits, is because I love to go ahead and share different people's approaches and their overall perspectives so that if you, the listener, the watcher, if you are, looking at your existing business and you're saying, man, you know what, I want to go ahead and find somebody that I really resonate with, you have those options. And a lot of times it's all about getting back to basics, right? We all know that having a web presence is important, but sometimes we just need that friendly nudge, that friendly reminder to say, hey, by the way, are you slacking in this area of your business, which is really the cornerstone of how people are going to be interacting with your business. So it's a great interview, tons of fun stuff. I love talking about marketing. I love talking about how we can go ahead and have our message in front of more people so that ultimately your phone rings with more customers. So without further ado, Brittany Murphy, let's go.
Welcome to the Restoration Domination podcast, where you learn actionable advice that moves the needle and helps service-based businesses dominate. Here's your host, Rico Garcia Jr.
All right, Dominators, what is going on? Another amazing episode. I'm really, really excited about this one because anybody who's listened in knows how passionate I genuinely am about marketing and about you just dominating your local space. And today we're joined with a very special guest. Without further ado, thank you so much for joining us here today and also for being my guinea pig with the whole LinkedIn, live that we're doing while we are broadcasting this episode. So thank you so much. For those that may not be familiar with the name and, your company, just do me a favor, fill in some of the gaps on my intro and let everybody know exactly who you are and what is it that you do.
Yes. So just as a recap, I am the marketing director at a digital agency called One Thing Marketing. And we love helping the trades guys make their businesses go to the next level with understandable and good marketing, kind of things that we think we should just be paying for and kind of the simplicity when it comes to marketing. We really want to push the envelope on that. In a few months, it is my 9-year anniversary with the company. So I have been doing this for quite a bit. Love it. And there's some background to why I'm kind of into this position, why we've niched down as well. So we can kind of dive that as well, if that's of interest.
Yeah, let's just dive right in. I mean, why the niche down?
So funny enough, we started this probably 2018. We realized half of our clients were in the trades. And one of the fun things is when we dove into that and really kind of looked at it, we realized who is the most reactive type of industry there is out there that can benefit from good marketing and being in the position when you need to be there. And that comes down to trades. No one really likes to call the roofer just to say, hey, would you like to give me an annual checkup? No, they're calling because there is a leak, there is shingles missing, there's a problem. And so we kind of really realized that what we focus on in marketing will help those guys the most. And it kind of hits home for me personally. I grew up in a trades family, so I really understood growing up the weeks and the months of we're eating well, dad is doing great. And then the weeks and months of dad's not doing so great. He's home more, he's not getting scheduled for jobs, and the paycheck reflects if he works less. And so we really kind of understood what that lifestyle is like for a family in the trades. And so really my goal more is to focus with family businesses ideally, but people in the trades that are trying to make it a livelihood, make that generational wealth, pass that down on. It really just kind of hits home on that aspect of it. So my dad was a pipe fitter, not that I want to be a pipe fitter, but I would love to kind of help those sprinkler fitters, do better work and kind of keep jobs so they can keep their employees busy, paid well, kind of as in a hope that my dad had while he was at his company for 35 years.
And in marketing, I feel, especially for us in the trades, right, there's this conception, I feel, that people feel that, hey, if I'm the best pipe fitter, people are just going to flock to me. If I'm the best restoration contractor, people are just simply going to flock to me, right? And nothing could really be further from the truth. And in our industry in particular, particularly like water mitigation, mold remediation, biohazard cleanup, all of this stuff, there's so many certifications through the IICRC and the RIA and all of these different bodies, right? And as a community, as a whole, we are really, really, really constantly looking for education, right? That additional education. But we don't spend enough time trying to figure out the inner workings of how we're going to get people to contact our business, right? So let's just kind of dive into like what I think the title of this may end up being, or at least what it is in LinkedIn, right? Like, your marketing sucks. And my question is why is it that most small business owners' marketing genuinely sucks? And the follow-up question to that is, what can we do to make it better?
There's a million reasons why. A few I've seen that just from experience is you got into restoration, you got into plumbing, you got into any type of business because you were damn good at doing that job. And as you got better with it, you became more of a boss, you had people underneath you, and you kind of learned how to grow the company. You don't get to take continuing education classes on how to be a business owner and how to look into these things. So I think that most business owners reach out, try to find a trusted marketing guru that they can help them, but you don't know enough to ask questions at times to make sure they're doing the job for you. So I do see that as a huge issue, is you put the trust into someone, and that could even be a friend, a family member. Those are always the worst to kind of put any of your marketing in their hands. But you kind of put your trust and all of your efforts into that. And they're not always going to spend the time and the care to represent you as well. And especially if you're going to pull back as a business owner and not take accountability over that aspect of it. That's kind of the one thing I really like to, before I work with any client, like, I'm going to stand on that platform and really be honest with you. If you're going to put a lot of emphasis in this now and then 6 months disappear when we've been working with you, we're trying to get more questions and trying to continue doing work, you're not going to have the best situation. Like, you're still going to grow, but we could have 2 times this further than what we did because we actually had input from that business owner. So I think a little bit is it's so frustrating. And then you also get salespeople that are, hey, I got this covered. No worries. This is going to be great for you. We're going to get this to 100,000 people for only $5. It's going to be great. And then it doesn't end up turning like that. And you're not tracking it. They're not tracking it. So again, I feel like kind of going back to that accountability and putting your trust into the right people and still following up with those people is a huge aspect for me. And then only analogy I can kind of give is you would train an employee to do what they need to do, but you would still continue to check in with that employee, give them reviews, give them feedback, and stay on top of them to make sure they're doing a good job for your business. So not that every business owner does that, but I think that when things are getting busy, and especially in more of a seasonal cycle for some industries, that we get way too busy, caught up in other elements to make sure the business is still going, that, just because we're getting leads, we're doing great. And Rico, you even mentioned like your first year in business, how much you did without, really having to have a huge strain to get into it. You were able to scale so quickly. If you took your eyes and your gas pedal off of marketing, you probably wouldn't have gone there either. So it's just kind of a bundle of things, but that's kind of the first area I kind of see most things happening. And that's kind of what I like to focus on is how can we educate you as a business owner to not know how to do your marketing, but be able to hold those who are paying your marketing accountable and what should they be doing. So you have a better idea of what the heck's going on. You have a blueprint and a game plan.
So one of the things, and we were talking about this off camera, one of the things that I'm huge on, and the one thing that I'm constantly talking to my audience about is get really good at marketing, right? Get at least a base understanding. And I get it, right? As a business owner, there's so many things that are thrown our way that we're like, hey man, like I just don't got the time. I wish I did, but I want to get home. I'm tired. I want to take my boots off. I've been dealing with people all day. I just kind of want to sit back and relax for a second. And our business, the restoration arena kind of has the ability to get away with a lot of that mindset because of the way that insurance billing is and where we're getting our revenue from, right? But you also got to start thinking and prepping ahead, right? Because the times are changing and that may not always be around, right? So getting a base understanding of marketing and how it works, that's not to say that you have to do it. That doesn't mean that you have to be behind the computer all day and looking at analytics or doing any of that stuff, which as a side note to that, I think that a lot of business owners think when they hear about digital marketing, they think what digital marketing used to be 15 years ago, that building a landing page is like they have to be good at coding and HTML and all of this stuff. And that, to make one thing work, it was really, really complicated. Like you needed a program, you needed a coder, you needed this, you needed that. Well, we're so far away removed from that now that if you know how to click a mouse, you can do a lot of damage, right? But at least having that understanding of marketing, even if you don't want to do it yourself, you don't want to have somebody internal doing it, it allows for you to have a much better conversation, right? Between like, if I was hiring you to do my marketing and I'm familiar with how SEO works, I mean, that makes your job a lot easier, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of where one of the biggest ways to test yourself on if you're A-okay on your marketing and your agency or you or your team has the game plan going is, do you actually understand what the heck they're saying to you when they're explaining what they're doing? And that's kind of the biggest complaint. I mean, I'm a marketing director, but I'm also the person you'll be talking to if you want a strategy on what your business needs to be doing. And the one thing I hear from almost everybody after 15 minutes into the call is, holy shit, Brittany, no one's ever explained it to me like that. I get it. And that's so sad because I'm talking to people who have been spending great thousands of dollars monthly for years with companies, but they've never understood what the game plan is. And so that's one thing. You don't have to know how to do those tasks. But Rico, like what you just said, you have to be able to explain it back to someone else. What are they doing? What is the game plan? In a bird's eye view, at least, to understand what the heck someone's doing for you. Because I feel that most people who don't understand it, when I do an audit or when we look into their website and into their marketing that they've been paying good money for, is we realize there hasn't actually been anything of value done. And now they're realizing, I never asked those questions. I just assumed that they said these big words. They said SEO, search engine optimization, Google ads, PPC, cost per click, all these crazy technical words. And they had no freaking clue what any of it meant. So that's one thing right there. Yes, you don't have to know everything. But to Rico's point, if you are someone right now listening to this podcast and go, shit, yeah, I had a meeting with them last month and I understood maybe half of the 15-minute phone call them back and make them explain it to you, because that's half the part of a marketer's job is we should be able to educate, and a really good marketer should be able to educate you because their job is to educate your potential clients on your business so they choose you. So if they can't explain what they do 40 hours a week, how the hell are they going to explain what you do to your clients?
100%. So where, in your opinion, right? And and by the way, let me just preface this by saying, I personally believe that there isn't necessarily a right or wrong way to approach marketing in the sense of which vehicle you choose to jump in first. I mean, there's tons of arguments to be made for any, right? Because ultimately you do need a website. You need to have that digital presence, right? That cornerstone that represents your business. Then I'm also a huge proponent of, paid marketing, right? Because that gives you that immediate shot on the arm. So in a lot of cases, I make the recommendation of saying, hey, learn if you are brand new in business, or if you've been in business for 10 years, but you've never really done a whole lot of marketing, you need an immediate shot in the arm, right? You need that quick ROI. You need that quick ROAS, that return on ad spend. So maybe paid to play is the way to go. And while you're building your website and that SEO organic presence, but now you're jumping to the front of the line, right? So, but in your opinion, and that was a long-winded way of saying that I don't really have a horse in the race. I think that everybody needs to pick their own vehicle. But in your opinion, what should be the pecking order when it comes down to marketing to really make it as fruitful as possible, as profitable as possible? Is there a formula, a method to your madness?
Because of, like you just mentioned, the time it takes to complete it and to get results from certain marketing, I mean, given with budget, is you're going to overlap a lot of these things to begin with. So like my strategy usually comes with if someone says right now, hey, my restoration business, I need to get started getting calls next month. It's March. We should already be getting calls. So I'm very worried that, I have nothing lined up for the end of this month. I need to get into next month. Also kind of have a website, kind of don't, it's a old yellow pages thing, but we have money to spend with this. I meet with those guys every day. And usually the game plan I come down to is if you are telling me you need calls ASAP, you are going to be taking a diet pill that's called Google Ads. And that is A-okay, because again, like you mentioned, it is something that we need to have overnight results with, and only to get our name to the top of Google is going to help that immediately. And advertising ads on most platforms is going to be the way to get there. However, you also want to, yes, like make sure you have a website that's converting. So even if you're spending $2,000, $3,000 a month only on Google ads, where the heck are those ads sending them? Is that page something that's going to convert them? And do you have enough information on that page to make this homeowner feel so trusted in your services and your name and your brand that at the end of the day, they're going to give you all of their contact information? So that is why I say, yes, you can turn on ads immediately. You want to have a good landing page with that, because some cost per clicks, and that's CPC, if I say it again, cost per click, some of those can range crazy. I know, Rico, you've probably seen
90,
you spend 50
90,
bucks,
100,
maybe up to
$110, $120,
100, yeah.
depending on, and there's a lot of factors, right? Depending on the keyword that you're going after, the competitive landscape of just your geographical area. Like for example, like we're down south in Miami, right? Like in the general Miami area. This is highly competitive, highly competitive. Whereas, you know, the same exact keyword in, let's say, Georgia, in certain areas of Georgia, is like almost half the cost of what it is here in Miami. Same keyword, it's just, that's the way that it works. It is a bidding type system. So, you know, something that you said, which is really important, right? Like, where are you driving this traffic to? Is it the website or is it a landing page, right? And I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'd love your intake on this, right? A lot of people, if you look at their marketing campaign, when it comes down to PPC, right? Pay-per-click, Google ads, and which, by the way, side note, you can duplicate your Google ads pay-per-click campaign in Bing. Now, Bing has been forgotten, which is Microsoft's search engine, for those that may not know. Bing has been forgotten for a very, very long time. It's not really something that, you know, the newer generation uses. However, now that they've got this beautiful little thing happening with ChatGPT and OpenAI, I have this small, you know, inkling that Bing is going to start taking up a lot more market share. I don't know. I'm just making this kind of like, you know, prediction out here. But either way, you know, you get all of this, you know, you get all of these marketing monies that's put into pay-per-click. A lot of business owners are sending it to their website. And I feel like that's a massive mistake, and they should really be sending it to a landing page. Can you explain to us, like, you know, paint by numbers, what's the difference between a main website? What's the difference between a landing page? And why should someone be driving traffic to a landing page as opposed to their website if they're paying per click?
Yes. So website in general, when you say people are sending there, most times what I see is people are just sending to their homepage. So just their regular .com address. What the landing page does instead, it is specific to whatever that campaign was run after. So if this is only talking water remediation, then that landing page is only talking about that service. It's having all your key benefits about it. It's having a testimonial of a client who you did that exact service for, before and after pictures. It's basically going to answer in a very quick and easy way the quick hitter items of who, what, where, when, why, how of that service. So that way, on that page as well, there is a number and a contact form where someone says, this is enough information and data for me to give you my information, and they just kind of can get along with their day. So you want ads to go there because it's going to answer everything, which people fight me on this, because what's a homepage? It's also supposed to give little quick hitter information about all aspects of your business so someone can kind of peruse what to do. So they are very similar in an aspect, but a homepage is way more generic to everything we can encompass. Whereas that landing page is niche and specific on that exact service. So that way people can make a yes or a no decision as quickly as possible. Because if you paid $50, $75, $100 for that click, you want that person to make a decision as quick as possible. And the joke I tell everybody when you think about it is, we all joke that goldfish have no memories. They reset every 2 seconds. Humans have become this way mentally, and especially anything online or on our phones, on our computers. So when it comes to that, you have to be quick to make sure that they can recognize, is this where I want it to go? Is this a service I need? Okay, great. I'll go ahead and call this number or submit that contact form. So kind of what I tell everybody as well is, all these landing pages can be built into your website. So you can have all these different campaigns going. You know, you can change them based on what the season of your business is, but they're going to the exact place that's going to drive them just for that. So the general way to summarizing this is, if you thought about buying a service or a product and you went to Google, typed that in, where would you want to land when you clicked on it? Would you want to go to that product or service page and see everything about it? Or do you want to fumble through a few different websites, try to figure out which page it's on, and then get to it? Google is rewarding the pages they know are instinctively relevant to whatever someone is searching. So that's kind of why I know PPC is different than SEO, but it still has that concept. That person came in for this product, this service. We need to focus only on that to get them to convert without distracting them from anything else on the website.
Right, exactly. So so we have a course, right, which is all about pay-per-click Google ads. And the reason for that is because that, again, for a lot of business owners, they don't necessarily have the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months that sometimes that a really good SEO campaign is going to take in order for it to really, really pay off, which, by the way, SEO, in my opinion, is probably one of the best investments that you can make, because if you can stick that stake in the ground, like that will pay dividends long after you don't even touch the website anymore, right? Whereas with pay to play, whenever you stop paying, that's it, game's over, right? But one of the main things that we talk about in the course is about being coherent, right? From the moment that the user types in a search query, right? And let's say that it's, whatever it might be. Let's say, mold remediation in attic. And that's a search query. Your ad copy, meaning those headlines and the description in Google Ads, should reflect something very, very similar to that, because it's human nature. Like if you just typed in something and all of a sudden the screen pops back all of these results, your mind subconsciously is trained to find something that matches as closely as possible. Well, Google knows this, right? And now who's going to be more than likely to get a click? Someone who says, number one remediation company in the world, or the person who's matching your query. So now you click on that, it matches the query. Google's like, all right, this guy is a good advertiser, right? And then they lands to either a landing page, which, personally I use like ClickFunnels. I like ClickFunnels. Or like you said, right on your website. And then right from wherever that landing page is, they're actually greeted with something that still maintains that same kind of messaging, right? Mold in your attic, we can help. Something as simple as that, because Google is reading all of these things that are on the website. But more importantly, and I think this is where, SEO is very, very technical. You have to optimize for you have to serve two masters, right? You have to serve the Google machine or the search engines. And then you also have to think that there's an actual human being who's reading this stuff, and you have to connect with them. So what are your thoughts on just being coherent, not only on an SEO front, but also on a PPC front?
You're speaking my language, Rico. I could kiss you through the screen. I'm so excited about what you're saying. These are all the things that we talk about. And when it comes down to a good service page on your website, that's what's ranking. Like that's where SEO steps in. That's what Google's trying to help rank that page, because it's 100% relevant to those keywords. Just like with the PPC ad, people are connecting to that because it's 100% relevant to unconsciously what they were typing in, what they're thinking, and what their problems are with it. So when you come down to that page on the website, if we're talking just the SEO side first, the reason I tell everybody is you can't just have 500 words on one of these pages is because that's not enough content for Google to compare you to your competitors and say that, ooh, I think he's giving way better information and relevancy to these keywords than the other competing websites are doing. Like you're going against as far as Google first. The second side, as you said, clients are going to be hopefully finding this page and wanting to use you because what they see on it. So it's kind of the beauty of SEO is you want to create more content on these pages, answering all the FAQs, the who, what, where, when, why, how of this service. So when someone actually lands on it, they can make a decision from this. I mean, one of the best things, because you work with insurance in this industry a lot, is do you have a process page on each of these services? Do you mention what that process looks like? Those are all things that, given you're creating more content to put more keywords into, back in the golden days, I'm sure, Rico, you remember, I could say I'm a mold remediator in Chicago, doing mold remediation in Chicago for 5 years, loving the Chicago area. We love mold, just the boring over and over is what it used to be.
Now stuffing, Google, right? It almost didn't even make any sense. Stuffing. It was just like, how many times can you say your local area in a random sentence? It's like no human being would ever speak like that. And by the way, let me just interject here. For those on LinkedIn, don't be bashful. If you have a marketing question, now is the time. I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't always ask all the questions that you would want answers to. So this is your time to shine. Let us know. Just put your hand up there, ask a question, and Brittany will be more than happy to answer that. So don't be bashful whatsoever. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit. And let's talk about the big issue now, right? Or this big opportunity now, which is AI, right? And everything that's happening with ChatGPT, for example. They just recently released ChatGPT 4, which it's truly and genuinely amazing. As a marketer, how much easier is this making your life as a marketer, right? As a tool. And then on the flip side of the scenario, how is it making your life a little bit more difficult now? Because now everybody thinks that they are a marketer, right? What's your opinion on where ChatGPT and AI tools are gonna kind of fit into the day-to-day business?
Yeah. So as a marketer, what I love about it is anything that you were trying to create, just content over and over, and you just can't think of those ideas, newsletters, emails, social media posts, all of those things. I love this for, because it can, again, write in your voice without having to always have that creative hat on. Because I'll be honest, as a marketer, I don't wake up every Monday morning with a great idea. That's just not how our
Right.
works. Now, I might wake up at 2 a.m. on a Friday with a really good idea. That usually happens more than not. But, you just always don't have those creative juices flowing. So even as a business owner, it's great to have something like that to kind of help kick in and give you that content idea. On the flip side of this, we are not using this for our SEO content. And the main reason behind that is we want to make sure and guarantee that if there's any algorithm change now or soon in the future, that all of our content we're creating for SEO website purposes, and this is mainly like the hardcore money pages, like the ones we're trying to bring people into, we're still using human writers for all of this. Because again, this is something new. It could be a trend. It could be amazing for it, where Google's not going to change anything. It could be also where it's going to be easy to get caught. I don't have the magic ball either to know what that future looks like with it and the capabilities of that side. That's way higher than my technical brain can kind of get into with how that huge machine and robot runs within itself. But that's something I kind of be careful with right now. But what I'm saying on that is people are paying me good money to write this content. So I'm not using those outside tools to create that. However, as a business owner, you can easily create blog posts. You can create some more information with this. Like, use this tool as much. If you're a DIYer or balling on a budget, use the shit out of these resources.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to many guys where what I tell everybody is, obviously, I would love to work with you. I would love to give you a strategy and make you dominate your industry and your area. However, I'm not the right fit for everybody. And maybe not everybody is ready for me just yet. So here's DIY strategies you can utilize yourself. And so that's kind of where I'm not going to shit on ChatGPT just yet, because I don't know what that outlook looks like for it. But why can't use it as a business owner? If you cannot afford to pay someone like me to write this, use these tools to see how much you can push yourself in the meantime. I mean, Rico, you said you were a huge marketer just on yourself that whole first year. I'm probably sure, as a lack of time, you probably would have used a resource like that to kind of expedite all the little things you need to be doing, potentially, if you don't have the time to.
100%. Because again, it's a matter of time, right? And it's not a matter of knowing what you should do, because I believe that most of us know what we should be doing. We just sometimes don't have the time to actually execute on all of these brilliant ideas, right? So when you have these tools, and that's what I want to go ahead and really drive home, these are tools to help you when you're struggling, when you're tired, when you're looking at a blank screen and you got the little cursor thing that's just kind of blinking back and forth. You're like, what am I supposed to do now? That's where these tools come really in handy. Now, you were talking about price, and this is something that's really interesting to me, because there's SEO experts, quote unquote, that are just coming out of the woodworks all the time, right? And there's a huge variety in pricing models. And a lot of business owners, right? Probably nobody listening to the Restoration Domination show, but a lot of business owners, they want to get, stellar, life-changing business growth SEO for $500 a month, right? And obviously, like, good things aren't cheap and cheap things are rarely ever good. What do you think about these really cheap SEO services, these, these SEO mills, right? And whether or not that's a benefit to businesses, or what is it that they should actually end up paying for? Should there be a red flag if an SEO company says, hey, look, $500 for your SEO?
Yeah. Yeah, I have very strong feelings about this, Rico. So I'll try not to get too flustered as I speak of these things. But one thing I hate the most over the last 9 years I've looked into this is the major national companies that offer the services of 500 to maybe $700 a month flat rate for a website, maybe some social media post, quote unquote SEO, and some of their marketing adjectives to kind of go with their strategy. These are the ones I audit, and I ask the person back, okay, well, what's been going on? What are they doing for you? And they have nothing to show with it. And it's kind of where the aspect of, I have seen some local companies who are a one-man shop. They do all the right, like I've had one-to-ones with them. They agree with me 100% on how it should be done, the aspects of everything when it comes to what makes you relevant in Google's eyes. They have a completely half price as me because it's a one-man shop. And he's basically just building you out to go a little bit slower so you can have that budget, but still do the things you need to do. And so that's kind of the difference to me that I would just like to separate is people who are doing this as entrepreneurs. If they are doing it correctly, then there's ability for them to charge that price because they don't need to have a million of you. I mean, they just need a few of you to have a really great process to do what they love and kind of get into this. Like our founder got into SEO because he got screwed over by a website company, then screwed over by a marketing company that said he was paying for SEO. Nothing freaking happened. And he figured out when he got into this, he loved it. He loved trying to write the content and learning what the algorithm was doing and all the changes with it. And that's where the company started from 11 years ago. And that's kind of where we all enjoy that side of it as well. So what I would rather people push back on is when you're sometimes also paying that very small price, something you might not realize is in the fine print. Guess what, Rico? I'm sure you've heard this before. You don't own that website. And maybe we actually own your domain at the end too. And you definitely did not own that hosting, which means we can do whatever the crap we want to your website, to your brand, to your marketing, because you don't own a damn thing of it. At the end of the day, even if you paid us $500 a month for the last 5 years, sorry, that's just kind of not how it works. And those are the big powerhouses. I mean, you can easily just type in marketing agency, and I'm sure you'll see guys who have 100 locations across, the US. These are the kind of guys I'm talking about. They're able to kind of create a cookie cutter strategy. Now, a caveat to this I'm going to throw in the hat is some people who are in rural areas or have no other competitors near them by a close proximity, you can use those guys and still get great results and tell me to shut up, Brittany, you're wrong. Like I pay $500 a month and it's working tremendously for me. There are always different situations. But what I see is if you're in an area with 100,000, 500,000, a million in population, there's no way you're going to get the results with those guys ever or anytime soon. And what you'll be seeing, you'll just spend a lot of money in PPC. And so you're getting leads, which it feels like, hey, I'm getting ROI, I'm spending money, I'm getting leads back in return. But just like you said, Rico, in 5 years, you realize that you spent all that money on PPC. None of it went to your website. So your website at the end of the day was not an asset for you. You can't sell that with the business as a profit maker because it's just not doing anything. It's not presence. It was all about ad spend and what you can do to kind of be there in that moment. So that is a many different answered way to kind of say my feelings about it. What I tell most businesses, if you are going to spend a couple thousand in your marketing, that's a majority what trades would be spending just on their website side, a couple more thousand on ads potentially. But no matter how much you're spending, go back to ask these guys what the heck they're doing for you and how are they tracking that marketing. That's something that a lot of guys with smaller budgets, they're not paying for tracking. And that's the hugest no-no in my industry is you'll never know at the end of the day if that $500 did anything for you if you don't track it and track it accurately.
That's awesome. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about, kind of walk us through a timeline, right? This imaginary timeline of what it would look like on a do-it-yourselfer, right? Or someone who's just getting started, they're kind of pinching pennies. and maybe they don't have a website. They know that they need to start getting a website. Number one, like, what steps should they do, right? What should they start doing now? Or maybe they already have an existing website. What can they start doing now to kind of start moving, their business along? And how should that progress, right? Like, number one, how should their website actually look? Are there certain key components on their homepage that are extremely important? And then number two, what kind of content, if any, should they try to be creating, and at what kind of cadence? How frequently should they be doing something on their website? And then eventually, where does that grow to hiring a marketing agency? And then what's going to be the difference? So I know that this is like 55 questions in one, but I just kind of want to give you a timeline, a visual, so that you can kind of say, okay, well, if I was just starting a business, this is kind of what I would do. If I didn't have the financial wherewithal, this is where I would get started. This is where I think it would kind of help me to finally get these deals in, and then eventually outsource it or make some decisions there. But before you answer that, let's just take a quick moment to thank our sponsors. Hey, real quick, are you a restoration pro looking to hire top talent inside of our industry? We all know that labor shortages are real, but I may have a solution for you, okay? And that is Wylander. Why? Well, very simple. They are the go-to recruiting company inside of the restoration arena. Well, the reason I say that is very simple. They've got proofs in the pudding. They've got over 1,000 placements in all 50 states, plus Canada. And what that means is that they not only have the expertise, but more importantly, they have the connections to find that top industry talent that you and your team are looking for. So stop wasting time. Stop sifting through tons and tons of resumes and just conducting endless interviews. Let Wylander do the heavy lifting for you and help you find that right person to help your company succeed. Call Wylander today and start building that dream team inside of the restoration arena. Dominators, let's face it, your company will make it or break it on the backs of your estimating team. But if we're honest here for a second, what tools have you actually given them to succeed? The actionable profile is the newest tool inside of your estimator's toolbox, or at the very least, it should be. The actionable Xactimate profile is a data-driven solution that provides real-time estimating guidance on the fly. It checks for both overages, omissions in your estimates in real time, leading your team to having much more accurate scopes each and every single time that they're writing an estimate. Avoid any kind of potential conflicts with the adjuster and ensure that your estimates include every single warranted line item with the actionable Xactimate profile. Get your free demo today. If you head on over to value.getinsights.org/dominate, we've got an amazing offer for you. Again, head on over to value.getinsights.org/dominate and get your free demo today. Hey, Dominators, I want to talk to you about Impartial and how Impartial creates timely and accurate estimates for faster and fairer claims settlements. Impartial's intelligent toolkit leverages Matterport's 3D scanning technology to automatically generate mitigation and repair estimates. And with Impartial Scope, you can extract relevant data that's embedded within the pre-mitigation and the post-mitigation scans and generate objectively accurate Xactimate or Symbility estimates. Remove the administrative burden and finally accelerate your claims approvals with Impartial today. Dominators, never fill out another claim packet yourself or wait on hold for what seems sometimes to be hours on end to try to get a hold of a lost draft mortgage representative again. Surety was actually purpose-built to keep insurance proceeds flowing to vetted restoration contractors just like you, to relieve cash flow crunch and to reduce a lot of the common administrative burdens that happens when there's a mortgage company involved. So get paid for the work that you've done, get paid faster, get paid with a lot less effort, because listen, at the end of the day, it's your money. So if you want to go ahead and check out Surety, which I would strongly recommend that you do, head on over to your.surety.com/dominate. Again, that's your.surety.com/dominate. We got a really special offer for you. you'll be thankful you did. Hey guys, let me ask you a quick question. Do you want to get paid faster and collect more on your insurance invoices? Then listen, look no further than One Claim Solutions. OCS is an insurance billing specialist that works with adjuster on behalf of people just like us, restoration contractors, to accelerate our receivables cycle and, more importantly, increase our overall collections. Contractors that work with One Claim get their invoices paid on average in around 32 days. And in most cases, actually see an increase in the collections that more than offset the price of the service. So in a lot of ways, this makes OCS effectively free. And that's even before you start to count in the overhead savings that's tied to billing and all of the other administrative burdens that go along with that. So I tell you what, let One Claim Solutions deal with carriers so that you can spend more time on what matters most, which is running your business. Get your free consultation today. Head on over to oneclaimsolution.com/dominate. Once again, that is oneclaimsolution.com/dominate. All right. And we are back. So let's pick up where we left off, right? You're going to be walking us through kind of the timeline and what things should look like. Shoot. What do you think that should be?
All right, let's go eagle eye view so I can get this answer done within an hour.
Fair enough.
I'll make it quicker than that. So this is actually a very common strategy I give most guys in a trade that have some competition and kind of have maybe somewhat of a start. So maybe there's 2-3 employees, a few trucks, but we're not big fully just yet to offload everything. So stepping back, we need to make sure, yes, we have a website. We have a domain that we own. On that website, a few key things. It's going to be anything and everything you think someone is going to need to make a decision. And you might think, well, just the service is enough. No, it's not. So when I talk again, that homepage and that website itself, I want to see calls to action. What are you trying to tell the person when they land on your website? What do you want them to do? Is it a free consultation? Is that the first step? Or is it actually booking some type of appointment? Make it very clear what you want them to do the entire time through a website and all through any of your marketing. This is a key concept to always have. Tell them what to do. Remember, we are hoarding cats. We're trying to guide goldfish on what to do in a very short, quick amount of time. So I love to see testimonials from clients. If you have video testimonials, and again, everything I'm mentioning right now, you can record with your iPhone and do this DIY today. So reach out to clients, get those testimonials, get some video testimonials, showcase your work before and after. So when you're taking all those project pictures, which I know you already have been, putting them together to actually kind of have some information together on this. These are all things that are going to help people understand what you do, benefits, why work with us, some background history for you. And one thing, and before I'll kind of move off the website, one thing I would love every business owner to do, which seems like pulling teeth, but sit down your phone in front of you, put it in 4K, and just for 90 seconds say, I'm Rico with Restoration Domination. And the reason I started this podcast is because I wanted to help business owners do a damn better job for themselves because I had to learn the hard way. And I don't think everybody needs to have to do that. Learn from my mistakes and let's move on here. I stand for A, B, C, and D, and I'm always going to provide you 1, 2, 3. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and we're glad you're here. Now, that was a podcast relevant video, but you can do that about your business. Why did I start this company? What do I stand after? And what are my employees going to stand after as well? This is something where if you are going to be in a higher price point type of service because it's such a big job, these little trust factors are signals to someone to say, okay, I know this person well enough now. I'm willing to buy from them. Because I think that's something we all learned in college class. People buy from people. They don't buy the things. So you're selling yourself on that aspect of it. So we have our website. We have these nice things on it. I would immediately start Google ads. There is no other quicker way to start to get calls than putting some money into ads. I prefer Google ads. That's what I just expertise in. Like Rico said, you can put it in Bing. You can put it in a lot of other places. If Facebook's a good place for you, you can go there too. Some of my guys don't do as well off social media, so I'd rather push them to a search engine like Google or Bing to run those ads on. We're starting all those things. So those ads are sending someone to a good website with information on it. We're also making sure we have a Google My Business profile. So I'm sure everyone's heard that a million times. I know I need to have it. The number one ranking factor with your GMB is going to be proximity. So something I tell all my guys as well is if you're a service area business, meaning you have a home office and you chose not to list your address right now, what I'm seeing over the past 18 months is Google is prioritizing those less and less, a few percentage points. They are more likely to show up pin drops of actual offices. So the best way to do this, guys, go to your computer, search your services, add your city to the end of it, and see what pops up on the maps. If you have a high competition level, you'll see pin drops where those offices are located in your town. So if you can, go ahead and show your office address. If it's a home office, 2020 happened. It's so more normalized to have a home office. It is a-okay to do that. We listed it years before we had a physical office ourselves. No one ever showed up except one time to drop a check off. So it was a win-win.
Right.
You know, if you're willing to allow that to happen, go ahead and do that, because proximity is going to be a factor.
Let me just dive in here, because I know that this is one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, because they don't want to show their home address, right? For whatever reason, because I mean, it's their home. They want some degree of privacy. There's other ways that they can go ahead and acquire an address without necessarily having a storefront. Now, back in the day, you could use the street address of the United States Postal Office. Unfortunately, Google has picked up on that. You used to be able to use big virtual offices like Regis and stuff like that. Google has picked up on that. The UPS store and all of that. You can't really use those anymore. But there are tons of smaller virtual address. iPostal happens to be one of them that isn't quite picked up yet, because they're all over the place. And those are great solutions. Well, you do have a private mailbox, right? It's a real business address. You could even get a business number directly through there. And it's something that Google hasn't totally said, okay, well, we're not honoring this, because, it's kind of, it could potentially be like a lead gen site, because again, it is a real business address. So for those that maybe don't have a good GMB yet, or they're still using a warehouse or whatever the case may be, look for other alternatives as well. And there's some other really cool hacks that you can find, addresses. I mean, hell, people have even gone onto Craigslist and said, hey, I'll pay you 50, and just offer up $50 to use an address for someone, and you'd be amazed, right? So get creative with how you can get that Google business listing. And the other thing that I would just say is, don't be afraid of high competition areas, right? If you see a lot of pins on a map, that's usually pretty good. That means that there's enough money to go around to where everybody is floating. And if you could just optimize your business listing better than the next person, and also get more reviews than the next person, then you're going to make it to the top 3.
Yes. And actually, you touched on the next things I was just going to mention with it. And I laugh. See, this is how much I know. Rico's been a long-term marketing guy. He calls it GMB, just like I do still. The whole Google business profile. I've never yet to say GBP just yet.
The famous GMB.
The GMB. It's going to live and die as the GMB. They've already changed that name too many damn times in my book. So yes. Once you have that claimed, if you can, find a way to, have an office address so you can list it. And then we need to focus slowly and consistently on getting reviews to that Google business listing. Like, it is hands down growing as a factor every year. And if you think about it, Google is kind of playing, at least to me, Rico, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. What I notice is Google kind of wants to play as almost like a Facebook now, where, hey, here's all the information and profile about that business. No need to do anything. Here's their website address. Here's their phone number. Here's their actual physical address. Here's the hours they're open. Here is pictures. Here's their reviews. And here's a message from the owner. I mean, literally everything you need. If you went into Google Maps and typed in a business, that you could push that call button and already know quite a few things if you're just already needing that person in with it. So they are actively making sure that they can get more traffic. I mean, Google wants to be the powerhouse still. So they're going to make visitors and people who are doing searches life easier and easier. And so it's kind of one thing to always remember. How can I make that person's life easier as well? Google's probably going to long-term reward me for doing things that's only going to best benefit the end user, because that's what Google's whole initiative is to make things as simple as possible. I mean, I think we all loved the day when Google Maps came out and we just pushed to call a business. And oh my God, within 2 seconds, you're already connected to them without having to figure out how to type their number in and go back and forth. All those advances are happening with it. So just utilize those as much as possible. So to recap, I think what we have at this point, you have a good website that gives good information about what you do. We have some ads running specific. That was a really hard word to say. Specified. There we go. Specified to the services. So again, what I tell all my guys, break down what you do. And so if you are doing fire, mold, water, well, there's probably different times in the season you're going to have more complaints and questions and calls for certain services. Utilize this information and knowledge about your industry and make those campaigns separate. You can also, which I love, separate those campaigns out into regions. There might be different places around the city that you want to target, and you might realize that, hey, we really want to hone in this area. It's more beneficial for us. We're closing more deals. It's the bigger houses, whatever. Utilize that data and kind of go from there with it. So because you have all that laid out, you're starting to get leads from here. You're getting more reviews. So you're building up a good, what I would call a straight foundation of what you need to get started with. Is enough reviews to showcase that you're a business, some content on your website to showcase what you do. From there, it's kind of where we can start about the SEO ball from going. But those are the core things I would tell any guy right now. Like if you don't have those set, focus on getting those set right now.
That's awesome. And then one last thing, just kind of, put a bow on this, right? We understand the importance of building a website. We understand the importance of video, right? Video definitely is one of those things that is going to drive a tremendous amount of traffic. And also it pre-qualifies people because not everybody is everybody's cup of tea. Thank God for that, right? Because then it'd be a really bland world. So video has that ability to not only attract your perfect customer, but it also has the ability to repel the people that you don't want to be doing business with anyways, right? So that's the real power of video. But then we talked about PPC, right? This paid per click style advertising. And the one thing that we didn't talk about a whole lot was how that dynamic really works, and that just because you're getting a click doesn't mean that you're getting a lead. That doesn't mean that you're getting a phone call, which then begs the question, how do I maximize that click? Because I already spent money on that click, right? It's kind of like having a store at the mall. You're paying this exuberant amount of money for rent. And the reason why you're doing that is because you're paying for the average foot traffic, right? So you're playing a numbers game, right? So in the PPC world, now that someone maybe clicked on the ad, what are a couple of ways that they, number one, can save on some of this cost? And then number two, how can they maximize the clicks that didn't necessarily turn into a phone call and or a prospect?
Yeah. So, I mean, a very quick summary I would say to maximize is making sure you have the info there for someone to make a damn decision on the spot if they want to use you. And that seems like such a simple answer to it, but that's where I would challenge you. Pretend you know nothing about your industry and look at your website or look at that landing page. Does it answer the questions for you to make you gear, yeah, I'd call that business, or maybe I'll click back and just see who else is in town just to kind of see what they say about it. Like I see so many landing pages now that either there's not one, they send to the homepage, which you will lose everybody on that a lot of times because we want decisions quickly. You're making me take extra steps by going to your homepage. We run heat maps. So, I mean, I can see on landing pages, where are people spending time? And, if you have a marketing agency, these are things they can kind of utilize for you. Something I do tell all my guys is not everyone may be ready to pull the trigger on contacting you for that service just yet. Now, with remediation, restoration, you probably have more of a time crunch on needing to get these things done because the house is not in a good usable area at that time. If you have more of an area where you provide proactive services, in that case, and even in the reactive cases, is there something you could give them to maybe say, hey, you don't have to schedule just yet. Maybe that's too big of a commitment for you, but what's something you could give them? Is it a cheat sheet on things to look at to see how bad their house is in detail? Is it maybe an intro starter kit to have them assess their house on their own? So when they schedule that call for you to come out, you can go ahead and look over that sheet with them. I mean, there's a million things you kind of do, but what I'm trying to allude to is there's a broad spectrum of personalities. And Rico, that's what you just touched on. We're all different. That's what makes life exciting. It makes a marketer's job excruciatingly painful and exciting at the same time because we're trying to appeal to a broad sense of personalities. So that's why the biggest tip I give everybody is what bullet point things can you have at the very top of any page? And this could be service bullet points, why use us, or limit or lifetime warranties, like whatever it is that's really good, actual, like, wow, these are great things that you offer. These are unique selling propositions, whatever they may be. Below that, as they scroll further and they scroll further, there's more and more information, more FAQs, more content that's giving them questions, pricing, process, all of these things that are getting into the nitty gritty, because now what you've helpfully acquired is that person who's still scrolling is the person that needs more details to be able to pull the trigger. And you are giving them so much trust in what you do because you're actually the only person out there in your town who's answering these questions for them. And you're making them, they'll feel comfortable. And again, with what you all do in this industry, it is a lot more intense than maybe just a simple plumber coming in, an electrician coming in. You know, I work with guys in all the home trade services. So with what you do, it even being more personal, such as that, you need to make sure you're speaking to that homeowner because you're physically going to be in their most personal aspect of their life, which is their home. So if you can't build that trust and rapport before they even call you, then guess what? They're probably not going to call you unless you're one of a few guys in town that have decent reviews and they just need to get in touch with you anyways. That's going to get the guys who make decisions quickly. But if we want to think about how to be a marketer and how to do better and how to stretch dollars when it comes to ads, SEO, or anything, is what can we put on these marketing landing pages, platforms, pamphlets, whatever you're giving a client that's going to, at the end of it, going to give them enough information to chew on to say, yep, I'm going to call Rico. He's my dude right there. Because if you don't, then they're just going to say, oh, okay, great, thank you. And then you just lost $50 for that click. You gave them nothing of value. You didn't speak to them. It was all about you and just kind of, hey, I need to get your money because I spent $50 on you to get here.
Exactly. And speaking of downloads and resources, I know that on your site, which by the way, there will be a link in the video description as well as in the show notes, where you have a free ebook that's available to download of the 9 marketing strategies for trade service companies. So for those listening and watching, make sure that you go ahead and get your hands on that as well. I just want to make sure that I mentioned that before I forgot it. A couple of
And if I can mention something, Rico, you asked me of that 50 question, one question of what exactly someone should do starting out. Guys, I didn't answer it as well as that ebook says everything. Like literally those are the top 9 things to start your business with. And if you already have 5 of them, great. Focus on the next 4 because what it builds on is all the things you're going to have to continue to do. Because like we were talking about, you're going to have to continue to create content to rank and provide people with resources to want to choose you. And so that kind of goes a little bit deeper dive into kind of how to create that content as well. So if you notice before the commercial break, I didn't give the best answer or fullest answer of it, please go download that ebook because it'll tell you everything you need to do. And again, it's for someone, as you can chew on my example before, here's a resource without having to book a call with me. You can have this resource and now you know of me. Utilize this marketing tip, guys. Like anything Rico or I are doing for our marketing companies, like utilize that because obviously there's a reason we're doing
exactly because
it
works.
Copy the masters.
I just want to add just a little bit of some additional thoughts on what you can do because there's again, and this is just so that I can get the goal with these conversations is to get people's minds going and opening up to the possibility of what's possible, right? Because you just don't know what you don't know. If you look at your competition and that video is extremely, extremely powerful. And we're not even talking about a $10,000 commercial, right? You don't need professional videographers. You could literally just do this on your iPhone. I mean, all iPhones now have 4K cameras for crying out loud. I mean, It's a crisp thing, but it's also very raw and personal and people want to do more business with people. When you look at people's websites or their landing pages, and you got to remember, this is a big, big funnel. You don't exactly know why. You have an idea of why someone's on your website, but you don't exactly know why they're there. And then you also combine that with the knowledge of, hey, video is really popular and it's engaging. Well, what can I do? Landing pages, there's tons of tools right now or agencies that can help you in creating interactive videos. Right? Which is something as simple as you saying all of these things that you would have in print about, hey, this is why I think you're on my site. What if you could just say, hey, welcome, my name is so-and-so. This is why we started the company. I'm here to serve you best because everybody's there, has their own need. Let me know now, currently live, while you're on this website, what exactly it is that brings you to the site so I can serve you best. First of all, this is going to do a couple of things. Number one, Google also rewards, all search engine rewards time on page, right? Because if a user is on this page for an extended period of time, Google's like, oh, this has got to be good, right? They got to be engaged. So video is one of those things, and this could be like a static video, but then also when you add some additional pizzazz to that and you make it an interactive video, which sounds crazy, right? You're like, oh my God, interactive video. This sounds really, really like ahead. Like there's software that does this kind of stuff, right? And for a marketing agency, it's super, super easy to do, or at least, to integrate into what it is that you do. But then great, now you have this click that you paid for. Maybe they converted, maybe they didn't. Maybe the boss walked in and right when they were about to pick up the phone and they had to close down the window on their computer screen, and now they can't find you again, right? Because maybe you blew through your ad budget for the day. This is where I think like retargeting, remarketing, and spending that additional $1 or $2 to reach back out to an individual and be like, hey, by the way, I know that you just visited my website. What happened? Is there something that I could do for you? And this is where, especially for the restoration arena, Facebook may not necessarily be the best place to cold prospect someone, right? Because what are the odds of them flipping through Facebook, walking into the house, and they're 3 inches underwater? I mean, the likelihood is very, very low, right? They're probably going to go straight to Google or something along those lines, right? But now, if you could retarget them on these different platforms, that's where I think it becomes really, really valuable. I mean, what are your thoughts on strategies like that? And just looking at other industries to see what you can bring in and, make the most out of your money.
Yeah, one thing I do love when you retarget, that's kind of where I tell anybody, it takes us 5 seconds to put a Facebook pixel on your website so you can retarget with ads people who have visited your site. One thing I like to tell everybody is when it comes down to where you're going to spend retargeting money, just think, how quickly are your homeowners making a decision on your products or services? If it is something within a few days' time, they're going to make that quick decision, then just be careful, try it. I mean, again, I'm not going to squash anything. Try it. Put tracking on it. See if it works for you. But if it's going to be a couple days, they're going to make a decision on day 3, and finally your retargeting ad shows up on day 3, well, that's too late. It's not a kind of good concept of it. But if it is something, hey, this is going to take them quite a bit to do it, then you have time to make more touch points in between. Hell yes, do it. That's kind of why I ask, have something simple for them to download off of your website. Because now you have their email address, you can put that into a sequence where you can reach out to them at the time frame on average in your industry, in your area, it takes people to make a decision. So if they're downloading this on day 1, probably day 2, they're probably calling some people out. Maybe I should just send a touch up and say, hey, was there anything on this list of things to look for that spoke to you that you need us to look into? And they could reply back, yeah, actually the basement had the same pictures you showed for mold. I'd like to schedule someone to come down here. That could be just a great concept of it, because again, it's sprinkling them with a little bit without making them feel like they're locked into having to work with you just yet. That's always a great thing to do, because again, you're providing resources, you're helping them. And at the end of the day, they're going to have more of that trust in you because you went ahead and started the relationship that way with education and helpfulness versus sales, sales, sales. So even if you do run those ads, maybe it's following up on a sequence to make sure that it matches what that original kind of thought process, that client's going through. What are their pain points? Keep speaking to it as they're going through that journey with it. So again, this might be even more technical. And I know I kind of started with, I'm not the huge social media expert with it, but I know you can create these separate campaigns to happen at certain times. So, hey, at week 2, they're probably thinking about this. Let's target those ads to make sure that we're there in that part of their brain cycle. You need to utilize that if you want to do it well, in my opinion. But luckily, Facebook is so much cheaper than Google. So that's a great place. You can add some money in, see how it works for you. Try it and test it. Just add a call tracking number or a landing page to everything. And you'll know after months, 2 months, 3 months. I mean, I love 90 days as at least a base minimum start time to try any type of advertising. Right. And then you can kind of go back from there and see how it works for you. So I do love that aspect of it. Again, the bigger the project, the more the time, the brain power it's going to take to make that decision. It's only going to benefit you to have more of those touch points in between, because the client is always thinking about this versus, hey, my toilet's just overflowing. I've seen a plumber in 24 hours. Retargeting will not work for you. So if this is going to be bigger and better, then utilize it. I mean, why not?
Exactly. That's awesome. And again, when it comes down to the world of marketing, there's always so much to dive into, and so many different things, right? Because it's consistently changing over time. And it's just really exciting to have these conversations and to know what's happening, and more importantly, what small business owners can do to really get to that next level, right? So for those that are watching and listening to the show, if they want to reach out to you, what's the best medium for them to reach out to you and get some more information, and all of that good jazz?
Honestly, the easiest way would be go to our website and either download the ebook if you want to DIY some things. But if you want to reach out to me and have a free audit and a free strategy built for you, then on that same homepage, onethingmarketing.net, there's a button at the right top that says free strategy session. So just book it. Go through there. I'll audit. There's really no risk of doing this. I'm not a huge salesperson. I'm more of an educator, just like Rico is on his podcast. So I'd rather tell you all the things I see so you can make a good decision from there. One of the best ways, because you'll be put right on my calendar. So we'll speak via video. And again, most of our clients aren't in our state. So I love talking to people from different areas and really getting to brainstorm how it can be more impactful with your marketing in your area for your services. So easiest way, just go to the website and you'll be connected with me either way.
Awesome. And I will have a link to in the video description as well as in the show notes. And as always, Dominators, I hope that you enjoyed the show. Make sure that you get your marketing right. Learn about marketing, read about marketing, understand that you're in the business of marketing, regardless of what it is that your business actually does. We've said it a million times and I will say it a million times more because it's something that I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts. Brittany, thank you so much for taking this time, for hanging out with us. Hope you had a good time as well. And Dominators, make sure that you leave your comments below, share this content, and also share this resource with a colleague, with a buddy, anybody that may, also benefit from, that ebook that Brittany has available on her company page. And as always, hustle, hack, dominate. I'll catch you guys on the next one.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, your #1 resource for tips, tricks, and hacks to help your business grow. Subscribe to our channel and follow us for more Restoration Domination. And follow our host at Rico Garcia Jr. on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.